Hello everyone, normally this would be a video for the second channel, but given that I'm going to be giving you all my feedback on Midnight Healing so far in the alpha, just on week 2 right now, I figured this was worth a main channel update. A priest video coming up soon talking more in depth about Holy and Discipline Priest and the things that are working and not working. However, this video is going to be covering every single healer in the game that I've tested. There's only 4 of them, and I want to get all the disclaimers out of the way really quick. I've only played Prez, Mistweaver, Holy, and Disc. I've tried some of the other healers out on like a very simple level, and I don't want to report anything other than I really like the changes on like paper and some of the new talent trees like Holy Paladin. Looking great, excited to play them more. In terms of like actually going in and playing something, I've been having to test with follower dungeons because I don't have like a test group, unfortunately, that's in the alpha, so we just got to work with what we got here. This means many caveats. First of all, this is the season 1 drop off, so we're kind of going from being super geared in the War Within to leveling, losing all our power, and starting fresh. And it's a stat squish, and there's been a bazillion changes to the way they want to handle encounters, the way healing's encountered. Like, there's so much changing here that it's very hard to like pinpoint like, oh, it's too much or it's too little of one thing or another, because it's just all for testing. And then furthermore, I'm in a follower dungeon, so I might be getting some normal dungeon scaling weirdness, and my gear's kind of low and my substats suck. So when you hear me talking about Discipline Priest later, and I'm like, I don't think it's doing enough, part of that comes with the context of, but I also don't have any mastery. And if you're like at literally almost no mastery on Discipline Priest, you're not getting any extra healing out of that atonement damage. So this is the kind of thing where they tune a knob and then all of a sudden it feels good again. So it's important to talk about things mechanically and then how they felt in actual practice. But that is some of the feedback that they wanted. To actually go over those notes, let's talk about it. If you are doing the alpha yourself and you would like to participate, feel free to comment down below, as I do know that Blizz devs like to watch my videos. That being said, this video is not going to be my best edited work because, again, this is normally the kind of thing I'd post on the second channel, but given its gravity. So here's the healer post you can find in the Blizzard forums, and then down here we're going to have, here's what they want for feedback. What healing spells feel like they don't ever have a situation to be used in? Are there healing spells you still feel like you must have a bunch of specific criteria met to effectively use the spell? How does the pace of healing feel at midnight compared to your experience in the War Within? Are there situations that feel like they are not reasonably able to be healed with the changes of midnight? And that's looking for more specific encounters. And then PvP, which I've done no PvP, so I can't comment on that. But let's start with this first one. What healing spells feel like they don't have a situation to be used in? The one in particular we can talk about, and I'm not even talented right now, is Sanctify, because I'm taking Ultimate Serenity right now on Holy Priest, and this just kind of removes Sanctify and puts all the Sanctify stuff into Serenity. Serenity is still like the worst heal in the game. Like, I don't know who this is for. Maybe it's for raiders and getting out a bunch of renews, but Sanctify feels terrible. I use it just to start up Naru and get my Idol of Naru, my paper ghost buddy, and that's about it. So Sanctify is maybe the one spell where I'm like, wow, that feels useless. Holy Nova feels kind of bad, but I think that's just a scaling thing. It's supposed to be a fun little damage move, and it's not really doing a lot of healing or a lot of damage like it normally does when it's charged up on the War Within right now. In all seriousness, in terms of healing moves, nothing's felt too out of the place across all the specs I play, which is good. So happy to report on that. However, the next category is a little more important. Are there healing spells you still feel like you must have a bunch of specific criteria met to effectively use the spell? You actually did just patch one out. The new Call of Ysera that's like all passives feels really good. And that is like exactly what I was looking for there. So no notes on that specific spec on Preservation Evoker, but the biggest spell that feels like it needs a bunch of specific criteria met is Prayer of Healing, which I'm not sure if you want that to feel much better on Holy Priest. Like, it doesn't feel like the kind of move that like you want that move to be powered up. You don't want that move to be too good on its own, right? And then the other one that really needs God, I think, right now is Penance. It's a little weird to say, but currently on the War Within, Penance is a very nice heal. Oracle and Void Weaver, right? It's a good single target heal, especially good when it's Dark Reprimand. Great for like, hey, I need to heal up a certain player, put Atonement on him, hit a Penance. And on Oracle, you're still getting some AoE healing because of the second Penance that goes flying out to hit some enemies. And then, of course, when you're using Oracle and you're hitting an enemy, right, you get that smart healing Penance. I love it. Like, Penance is a good feeling move on the War Within. Right now, it's just beans. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Like, you don't get a lot of AoE healing out of it. Atonement feels really weak right now. Single target, it feels like I was better off spamming Flash Heal a lot of the times. Like the only benefit to it was that I was able to do it while walking. This entirely could be Atonement's fault. My Atonement is low, I don't have control over my stats, and I'm in like greens and blues, right? Like I'm not really in the stuff that I would expect before Mythic Plus, so maybe I'm undershooting here. However, Penance just feels ugly because if you don't have Power of the Dark Side, one of the only things buffing it other than hitting like, you know, really big Radiance and then having all those Harsh Disciplines procs, like it just doesn't feel like you're getting a lot of it. And even then you like press all those buttons, you're like, wow, that was useless. And I do have this problem on retail as well. So much of the power is located in the hero talents. I mean, even Voidweaver doesn't feel good right now, and that's going to be more for the next bullet point. But when you are out of cooldowns, you feel useless. When you are in cooldowns, it's better, but not really. You can play into the shield aspect of Disc more, but you're still not healing that much. And so the shields cause scaling problems. Everything causes issues when the shields are too good, and then the healing's bad. It's just not fun. If you kind of moved it all in, right? Like a little more baseline healing, maybe a little less on the shielding department if you need to make that weaker as a counterbalance. I want less of my power to be based around a cooldown. Mistweaver's a good example. Granted, Mistweaver's super bugged right now, so you're about to hear about that too. But when I'm playing Mistweaver, especially in the first footage that I captured when I was level 81, it felt awesome. Always online Jadefire teachings, being able to heal, you get those spinning crane kick procs, the Dance of Chi-Ji procs. I felt really good, but if you ramp on Mistweaver, right, you get more healing inertia, I like to call it, where it feels like you can really carry your heals. As of right now, Mistweaver, when it's not bugged, has that feeling without cooldowns. Like it feels okay without cooldowns, like, oh, I'm doing some healing, this is all right. And then as you ramp and you get everything rolling, it feels pretty excellent, and that's been really fun to play with. Discipline Priest, it's like, okay, when I'm not ramped, I feel terrible. If I get Atonement on everyone, I feel terrible. If I'm in my largest cooldowns, I'm doing something. And it's just not the place right now. And that all kind of revolves around Penance, because you get to hitting Penance, and after all that buildup, and you're like, wow, that did nothing. That does work into our next question, though. How does the pace of healing feel in Midnight compared to your experiences in the War Within? Okay, so on the low end, it's Discipline Priest and Mistweaver when it's bugged. It's terrible. I'm not having fun. It doesn't feel like I can do a whole lot. I feel relatively useless doing these big pulls. Now, you have to understand, all the footage you're watching, this pull is terrible. Sometimes the AI doesn't get threat. I'm pulling way more than I should be pulling at this item level. I have to spend defensives just running away to set up the pull, but it's a good way to pulse a lot of AoE damage and like get right into a dungeon. Granted, the dungeon limit in alpha is quite low. It gives me the, you've been in too many instances far too quickly. Please remove that. This is my only way to test. So that being said, yeah, Disc, it's like in its current state, it's not enough. It feels kind of useless to play, and it sucks because Disc is one of my favorite healers. So bad news there. Mechanically, Disc feels really good, and you'll be hearing about that in my Priest video, that like I think a lot of the changes for Disc are in the right direction, and not even all the talents are done on it, but I don't think a couple of talents are going to be saving it, as the Voidweaver talents are complete, and those aren't saving Voidweaver, so it's not looking great over there in Disc territory. Could be the stats, could be the scalers, no idea. But then, on the flip side, Holy and Preservation feel amazing. Preservation feels a little bit better than Holy, but some of that is that Preservation's kit feels a little more complete without all my talent points, and Holy's kit feels like I want the rest of the talent points in order to get the healing done. But given the kind of stuff that I can pick up on Holy Priest, I'm actually really pumped about playing it at level 90. It feels like I have just the right amount of stuff to get everything done. The AoE healing on Holy feels good, which is the first time I've been able to say that in a minute. Prayer of Mending on Oracle is incredible now, having the tier set bonus from this season of the War Within when I'm recording. It's a spot heal, and it's as hard hitting as a flash heal, and it provides a simple power word shield. And so it just feels like you're constantly able to roll out the heals and keep people up. And the Cosmic Ripples becoming stronger is actually a great way to make Holy feel better in AoE in its own unique way. So I have nothing but good things to say about that. And the damage to healing felt just about right for my item level for the content. Mythic Plus does bring me some concern, some genuine concern. I mentioned this in another video, and I'll just mention it here for the sake of having all my healing thoughts in one video. Mythic Plus needs a different scaler for damage incoming. They should scale, right, like with the rest of the health of the mobs in Mythic Plus, but there needs to hit a point where we've decided this is extremely hard healing. Every healer can do this. right? You want them to sweat. They have good item level. You've hit that like critical maximum, right? They're like decked out in good gear. They got all their things, and healing is a bit sweaty. Okay, stop scaling. Let the health continue to go up, but wherever that level is, stop the heal scaling. And then just let it drag out for higher and higher health pulls. This means that it'll take longer to take out the pull, meaning the healer is stressed for a longer period of time, but it's not necessarily getting harder. I don't normally like request things so aggressively, if you will, but this kind of change would allow healing to maintain a rhythm that Blizzard is happy with and allow healing to feel really unique and fun without it necessarily like scaling out of control, because any number going to infinity will kill you in World of Warcraft. And thus, if I am trying to heal something and we don't want to ping pong, you're gonna ping pong eventually because there's gonna be too much damage coming in. And I feel like that shouldn't become a problem in Mythic Plus, because then the shields will become busted, or the Resto Shaman that can Spirit Link and make it through the mechanic is going to be meta immediately. Instead of when you force people to heal for longer periods of time, maybe they need more damage, maybe they need more healing throughput, maybe they need better mana management, and then the meta will be a little more varied, at least from that perspective. PI is still a problem for that kind of balancing, but that's for another video. But when you're playing like Preservation Evoker or Holy Priest and you're healing everyone up, it is slower. When you have tools available, it's pretty quick. Like, you really can get people up in a few moments notice, right? Like, you'll just get everyone up and healthy, you'll top them off, easy work. However, when you are healing without cooldowns or bigger buttons, it does take quite a bit longer. And I think maybe it takes a touch too long, but I don't feel like we're out of like an unsatisfactory range of playing. I feel like it's really fun to heal in this environment because I still get to do damage, I still get to do utility, and I get to heal. And this is like, right, this is a follower dungeon. These are the worst players in the world. I love the Worgen so much. Oh my god, marry me. But everyone else in this party, including the Hunter in his positioning, is terrible. Like, they don't keep threat very well for a while. They struggle to position. They're always in Turbo Narnia. It's terrible healing them. I don't know how good their kicks are. I don't know how good anything else they do is. But I gotta be real with you. But healing when it is intense is kind of fun. It does take longer to heal people up, but you're also not worried about them dying. And that was outlined in this like healer post here. And it's true. And it feels good when it works that way. When you can't heal it up, it feels terrible. And when there's nothing to do, I truly am bored out of my mind, but that might be the Mythic Plus player in me that's just looking for more things to do. Now, as a comparison point of how I want healing to feel, and this brings up something I really want to talk about, that's sort of the healer problem I want us to avoid for the rest of World of Warcraft, and this is very important into Midnight, because anytime we make these adjustments, this is always the problem. Yo-yo health bars and like super bursty damage can be annoying. We want to move away from that, fine. There's two directions the game can go. Either we end up doing too much healing, right? We move away from this balance and we're stuck either always constantly healing, always sweating our butt off, or it's like boring at certain item levels until you push into a high enough key where it becomes suddenly stressful. Don't think that's going to be very good for the game. I don't think healing's more fun by having to only heal. Some people might disagree with me, but I feel like that's a bit more of the raid environment, and raid environments are about working with your team, and that feels a little more dynamic and a little more fun to me than every dungeon and every single encounter is me just constantly sweating trying to heal. So you don't want to make it too heavy. But then also on the other side, if you make healing too good, you get a Final Fantasy 14 issue, and this is not a jab at 14. 14 has puzzle fights, so the healing being stronger and easier does make sense on some level. Some might argue it's too easy, but the problem is, once you know a fight, you just pop your healing cooldown, pop the healer 2, go back to pressing your damage buttons. And so you end up bored because damage isn't too interesting at that point, and healing isn't too interesting at that point. Again, 14 gets to solve this with having the fights be very puzzle-oriented. So your first clear is probably going to be super exciting anyway, and it's a ton of prog to get there. So in that sense, it works out there. But if you were to bring that playstyle to WoW, people would get bored. And while healing might be more accessible, people would end up shying away from it and causing, again, the issue where we don't have enough healers ever. So the perfect balance is kind of what Midnight's going for, and a little bit of what the War Within does in like a 12 or a 13. But there's another Blizzard IP that does this super well, and that's Overwatch. In Overwatch, a healer has to do a lot of tasks. I'm going to avoid the playmaking side of this because that is a unique thing to PvP, and in PvE we're just going to be running at mobs and hitting buttons, so I'm going to focus on the healer side of this. the fun part about healing in Overwatch and how they nailed it is that healers aren't too powerful, but it feels like you can save people's lives. As long as your team isn't just running in there and dying recklessly, you can help people survive and win fights, or get them out of a bad scenario to top them off for another fight next time. But you also have to juggle that with doing damage. A new player might not have to focus on the damage side of this, they can focus more on the healer, but as you get good at Overwatch, you need to be able to do both, kill people and save your teammates' lives. And that's a really fun balance to strike, because anytime you can be helping your team win a fight is closer to victory. However, if your team is dying, you need to pull off your offense and start doing defense. And that healing is so satisfying. Getting the triage right, landing your shots, and using your cooldowns effectively feels good. And Overwatch is able to convey this in 1, 2, and sometimes at most 3 healing buttons. The fact that a shooter can do 2 to 3 buttons and make healing feel this good is crazy, and kudos to the Overwatch team for making it feel so good. World of Warcraft is kind of heading towards this balance, where it takes a little bit to heal. I need to focus a little bit more on healing. However, I'm rewarded with more free time to do damage, get my mana back, if it's played correctly. I like this because it's going to stress the healer if you play sloppy and poorly. No healer is going to be able to save you, and thus you need to use your tools correctly. But it also means that the healer can react to things and triage and find that satisfying gameplay where they can pick and choose how to heal and who to heal. And for anyone who's worried about the reworks, so far, they haven't really cut a lot of the skill expression out. There's a lot of cool new tools, and you're going to have to use them well in order to keep people alive. And I find that to be quite enjoyable. Are there situations that feel like they're not reasonably able to be healed with the changes in Midnight? I can't list a specific boss, again, because I don't have any way of testing that stuff right now. I'm stuck in follower dungeons and some of them are crashing, and I'm trying to put in bug reports whenever I can. But I'm worried about Mythic Plus. That is the biggest concern I have, is that a player will not be able to heal in there because it's scaled too high. And I don't want there to be nothing to heal when I'm at max item level. I want to be able to flex how good I am when I'm finally at those high levels. Now, just to pivot the conversation, I don't get to talk about raid very much. I am excited about raid healing. I've gotten to do 0 raid testing. Raid healing for me right now isn't a lot of fun, because it is just rotating a bunch of giant cooldowns and then topping people off and doing whatever mechanics. I really wish that healing was more interactive and more dynamic in raid. I want to work with my teammates more, and it feels like I don't get to work with my teammates very often in current raid content. Feels like it's just blast on all cylinders whenever it's needed, and oh, in Mythic you'll have to plan out your cooldowns and use them correctly, but it doesn't feel like I'm expressing skill. It feels like I'm just timing things and hoping everyone does the mechanics right so we don't have excessive extra damage in the raid. And yeah, some people love heal parsing, but it's not me. Not because I don't think it's fun to get a big number, but because I don't feel like I'm working as a team. When I think about dungeons, I'm the one keeping everyone alive. So when I'm no longer doing damage and it's time to save my teammates, it's me, and it feels interactive and fun to keep my teammates alive through that encounter. When I'm in raid, I want to work with my team to keep our team alive and like help everyone through the raid. The problem is that it feels like we're all just like gods on a timer and we press a button and fix all our problems. Like, I'm not actually interacting with a lot of healers. The most interaction is maybe a fight like Cauldron of Chaos, where there's 2 different healing profiles going on, so you want to mix and match your healers correctly. And that only matters until you have the fight on Prague, and then all of a sudden you're 2 healing it, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not really fun for me. And so all of the changes coming to healing make it seem like I'm going to interact more with my fellow healers, and I'm really excited about that. A little worried about how much throughput we're going to need. I feel like that's going to be a little tough to balance. But on the dungeon side of things, if things like Discipline Priest get to clean up, or maybe it's stats or whatever, right? Maybe it's the dungeons, maybe it's the scalers and the gear. I'm honestly really excited. If things stay around this difficulty that I hit with Prez on this big pull, if I can expect harder challenges in Mythic that really push my gear to their limits, I'm going to be thrilled. I just really do worry about that Mythic Plus scaler, and of course, things like Discipline Priest not feeling good at all right now kind of sucks, but that's okay. It's an alpha, and that's totally normal. By the way, Mistweaver notes, if in case you're like, what do you mean by Mistweaver? Yeah, it feels like Jadefire Teachings just turns off like it used to. Like, you have to activate it with Thunder Focus Tea, except sometimes it felt like it stopped working even after I just hit Thunder Focus Tea. I don't know what's going on here. All I know is that when it is online, it looks like it's healing correctly and it's fun. When it's not online, I'm fist weaving and nothing is happening and it feels terrible. So it's one of those, I know it's good in theory, and it was really good last week before the patch, but something about this patch and me going to test Mistweaver, and it just immediately stopped working. But again, it's an alpha. to everyone who watched the video. First of all, thank you. Subscribe if you love me. Appreciate you. But also put a comment down below. The WoW devs definitely do watch my channel, and so it'd be nice to have some more opinions there in case they need to hear them. But be nice down there, okay? They're busting their butts over there in the alpha, and I don't want anyone being rude to those devs. They're working hard. That's going to do it for this one. Take care, everyone, and I will see you all in the next one.